Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. A little update on Project Grandpa. That's what I'm calling this, because I feel like this thing's been in my life my whole life, so since I was a little kid, so it's like a grandpa to me. Anyway, I've got the driver's side of the axle down to the actual axle housing. It still has the caster bushing in there. Got the axle shaft pulled out. I'm going to start working on the passenger side soon, but right now I'm going to bring you over here to the bench and show you what I got going on. Please excuse the mess. You can see how absolutely trashed and nasty the axle knuckle was and all that stuff. So I've got and I've got time lapses of all this stuff, but I've got the hub here. I just got it oiled down so it doesn't rust. But that's the inner of the locking hub there. And then I've got the rotor. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to try to take these rotors off and replace them. I think I will. I think those are about $100 a piece for the rotors. And, since I'm going to go through the effort of, kind of making all this stuff look new again, I think just spending the $200 on the rotors might be worth it. Definitely need new calipers. The old ones, they're only good for cores. Scrapping all this. I'm going to see about going to like a GM style single, a single steering linkage where you just have the single linkage from knuckle to knuckle, and then you just have one bar that comes down, kind of like a high steer option. I don't know if they make it for this exact option because the way, this isn't a kingpin, so it doesn't have that flat spot up there. I don't know. I got to look in to see if that option's even available. If it's not, I'll just go back to the original track bar with the steering link and everything and the steering stabilizer. But right now it's about 25 degrees out. I'm going to be on the couch doing some video editing and parts deciphering for the next couple hours until it warms up. But right now I've just got a pot of Purple Power. This is an old thrift store soup pot I found. But there's the knuckle. It's super greasy and just beat up. And it's probably about 160 degrees in there with this trough heater. And it's just soaking in some Purple Power. Like I said, I'll come out here in a couple hours after it soaks and I'll power wash that down. And then I think I might try a chemical rust remover such as evapor rust, or I might electrolyse it. I'm not sure. Anyway, all of this stuff has got to get broken down to its original component, cleaned of grease, cleaned of rust, and then painted. I'm not going to paint the spindle, of course, but the hub, the knuckle, the dust shield there. Here's the old ball joints that came out. I already pressed those out last night. You can just see how absolute trash they are. And listen to that. It's just, they're just trash. There's the bottom one. Yeah, they're trash. The U-joint looks like trash. Need to get that out of there. Need to get this all pressed out. I don't actually have a shop press. That might be something I'll be purchasing, or I might take it up to one of my buddy's shops who has a shop press and take that out. So anyway, the splines on the axle look good. You can see that the inner axle shaft was leaking. This axle seal is junk, needs to all be replaced. But like I said, for the time being, I'm just going to go back inside, let this soak for another couple hours, and then I'll come out here and I'll start power washing things once the temperature gets up, above 30 degrees. So anyway, so you can see somebody's already had this thing in and out. I did use a chisel, but I don't think I did all this damage to get my spindle separated from the knuckle. I used a combination of a puller on the axle shaft and right here, and then I used a little bit of a persuasion with a big fat wedge chisel to get it started. And then once I started getting out, you can see there's quite a bit of rust there. These are only about I think these are about $75 a piece. I might go ahead and replace those. I'm not sure. I mean, you got to think you're probably going to spend 2 to 3 hours trying to clean all this up and make it, you know, usable again, or you can just get a new one for 75 bucks. I mean, I guess you got to break it down to how much money you make an hour, but for me, I'd rather work 2 or 3 hours at work and have 2 or 3 extra hours on my Saturday and just have brand new shiny parts to work with. So like I said, we're going to get this axle down to just the bare shaft. I don't have any of the tools, the run out tools. I don't really have any of the knowledge to set the backlash and the run out and the pattern on this ring and pinion. And I'm assuming with the way everything else looks, now would be a good time to probably replace the pinion shaft, the pinion bearing, and the carrier bearings and all that stuff. So I think I might just get the axle down to just the axle tube and the differential, and then take that to a driveline shop and have them just take out just inspect it all, make sure the ring and pinion's good. Visually, to me, somebody who's been around machinery most of my life, like visually it looks fine. I'm not sure about all of the specs as far as run out, you know, if it's loose. It does feel a little bit loose as far as this does. I mean, you can see there's quite a bit of play in there. It doesn't feel super tight. I think the actual components are good. I just think the bearings and the seals are all shot. So maybe it might be beneficial for me to just pay somebody to do it and know it's done right versus buying the tools and then trying to learn how to do it myself. I'm not 100% sure on that. I love to learn and I love to go through the process, but I also, you know, I'm one man and I have a full-time job. So it being wintertime, I don't get a lot of light in the evenings to get out here and get anything done, although I have some lights out here and I kind of just make do with what I have on a shoestring budget right now. For one day I'll have a nice shop, but right now I just got this little shed and carport deal. But yeah, there's the rear bumper I think I'm going to use. Let's go back here and look at the rear. This truck is going to need quite a bit of work. Like I said, I've owned it for a long time, and I got a bunch of distilled water because I'm going to do a radiator flush and a water pump change. So we're going to flush the radiator. I'll just jot off a few things I know need to happen. New water pump, flush the radiator, fill it back up. I got some Fleet Guard from Tractor Supply I'm going to use. This old bumper, although it's been nice, it's kind of worn out. It's beat up. The chrome's all scratched. Somebody, not me, in its past, I think it was probably my dad, or maybe we bought that bumper like that, I'm not sure, but I just added those LED lights because it had some big old fat incandescent lights in there at one time. But those lights are starting to really yellow. They're kind of looking trashed out. So I think what I'll do is I'll swap out to this bumper. This thing needs to be, I mean, you kind of have to figure out at what point you're going to stop. I mean, in a perfect world, this thing could be sandblasted and powder coated because it's already been painted and it looks like it's been painted over chrome. I bought this bumper used off of Craigslist. Like I said, I got the back rack. I want to get a new hitch because on this bumper, the hitch is built into the bumper and I don't like how it's been mounted. The way it's mounted, the hitch is kind of slanting down, and you know, with the drop bumper already being low, then you get out here and your hitch is like 8 inches off the ground and all your trailers want to drag. I'm doing away with that. It was fine when I was a teenager, but you know, I'm a man now and I need proper things that work well. So we got that. Like I said, I went through the axle because this truck sat for about 2 or 3 years, and just to get it rolling again, I had to put new calipers on the front because they were completely seized up. I rebuilt the drums because they were kind of seized up, and while I was rebuilding the drums, and I drove it with one of the drums seized up and it burned out the axle seal. So while I was replacing the drums, went ahead and did both rear axle seals, as well as repainted all of the stuff I took off, rebuilt the drums, I serviced the differential fluid, but in this rear, I'd still like to do all of the linkage as far as the sway bar, and all the links associated with that. New shocks. I want to get some good quality shocks that improve the ride of this thing. Under the hood, let's go and take a look at it. This video is getting a little long, but cold out here. Under the hood, this has got the Mark Fugazato's e-fuel kit on it, and a high pressure or an oil crossover kit too. But I've got an oil leak under my pedestal. I think it's either coming from under the pedestal back there or under this intake plenum. So my plan is to take all that out. I'm going to get a pedestal delete, the back pressure valve delete on there. We'll put a deleted pedestal on it. We'll reseal these intake plenums. Not sure if I'm going to mess with this one yet because I don't think it's leaking, but we'll know more once we get all the turbo and all of the corresponding parts and all this stuff out of the way. I took the battery tray out. I repainted all that. I got a new coolant reservoir, which I'm going to use the old one for the flush, but this will be ready for service whenever I get the new water pump on. Like I said, while we're servicing the coolant system, we're going to do a new water pump, new thermostat. I've got this serpentine gator back belt. That's a good little trick if you guys have any pulley noise or any, I think I have a misaligned pulley over here on my power steering pump, which that takes me back to the four-wheel drive axle. When I get the four-wheel drive axle in here, I'm going to do a new steering box, probably like a blue top, and I saw different options for a new steering linkage as well. Might do that, like I said, might not. I want to just kind of take out each component and clean it as I go. Still got the factory 1.25 inch master cylinder and brake booster vacuum operated on here. Like I said, I might do the hydro boost conversion if I can find a parts truck. It seems like I found a good thread online about a guy who got F Super Duty, not the I think it was a 97 Super Duty. It was direct Motorcraft bolt-on parts. It just swapped this whole conversion over to hydro boost, but it seems like some of those parts since that post was written in 2011 have been discontinued. So still seeing if that, because I want it to all be factory. I want it to all be good factory Motorcraft parts. I'm not going to throw a bunch of Chinese junk on here and make it, not super reliable. Also, this was done, this is a little, this is just an old farm hack. It's got no AC in it right now. It's just got a dummy pulley on where the AC compressor goes. I want to get that fixed. Although I'm in North Carolina now, but I may be moving out west, back to my former state I lived in, back to Colorado or Wyoming. And I may not need AC out there as much. So that's kind of a back burner item. Other things to consider in the engine bay are, like I said, we got probably glow plugs, although I just replaced those about 3 years ago, along with the glow plug harnesses under the valve covers. So I don't know that that's necessarily needs to be done right now. I think I might just, just put a voltmeter on them and check them. Like I said, front suspension will all be done when we put the new axle in. Interior wise, this is what I got going. I'm about to take this driver's side door off and replace these hinge pins. I've already done the passenger door. It's much better. I want to steam clean and vacuum all of this carpet. Oh, all of these door seals, you can kind of see they're a little bit dry rotted, especially this one. I mean, truck's almost 30 years old. It's got 300,000 miles on it. Yeah. So I've got new radiator hoses here. Got some new mirrors for it because these ones are dented. That one's got a little bit of a dent in it. So I got some good used OEM junkyard mirrors. They're actually off of a earlier model, but the mirror themselves are the same. There's the driver's side door panel, which needs cleaned. All of the carpet, all these weather stripping on all the doors. I want to clean those. These are kind of last item things, kind of the end of the road thing. After I get it good running and driving, then I'll address all of the cosmetic stuff. Eventually, probably going to get this truck repainted, like I mentioned in earlier videos. If I can find an affordable flatbed for this truck, I'll go that option. I found one on Facebook Marketplace. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a CM skirted flatbed for an 8-foot bed for the dually. The guy was asking $3 grand for it. I messaged him, and then the time came to pick it up, and he never did get back to me. So I don't know if he sold it or if he just wasn't actually that serious about selling it. But, you know, you deal with that kind of thing when you're on the used market. So, let's see. This had a chrome trim along the bottom. I think it's been on there as long as I could remember. And it had some really gaudy running boards on it. I've since removed those. And if you can, I don't know if you can tell, but when I removed the chrome trim, the adhesive peeled some of the paint off. But so you can see this fender, it had fender flares on it, chrome fender flares. That chrome is kind of rubbed against the original paint and made that line that won't come out. Also got a couple little rust spots forming from where the fender flares, the chrome lips on them were rubbing. I've since replaced the under grill trim piece, and I was able to use a come along hook to my other truck, and I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it's about 98% better than it was. But I was able to pull out the core radiator support there enough where, you know, sighting down it looks pretty good. I mean, that looks pretty straight. It was kinked back at maybe like a, I don't know, 10 degree off the corner there. That's the whole reason for the radiator flush, because I took the radiator off so that when I could hook to the core support in various areas without messing up the coolers, because those were kind of expensive. I went back through here and I straightened out, I don't know if you guys noticed in an earlier video, but some of these body lines weren't lining up quite well. I fixed all that, and really a lot of that came from the core support. This is a new hood. It's not new to this video series, but it is new to the truck. It was replaced along with, because when I got in that little front end collision, I think it cracked the grill. It dented in the front of the hood, just enough dent to make it unsightly. It messed up the bumper, and it messed up this underhood piece. I think it cracked one of these. It was that one, because that one's new. Yeah, you can see how much more amber it is than this one. This is the original. Yep. Still see the Ford emblem on that one. And this is an aftermarket eBay part. Anyway, we'll be on the lookout for these hubcap covers, these lug nut covers. I have the rears. Those are the OEM factory ones from the rears. I don't know if I've lost them or if they're somewhere at my parents' place. I'll have to look. You can kind of see right there that this fender has got a crinkle in it. It's a little crinkle. It's probably from where that radiator core has been around a little bit. But as far as the body lines go, it's pretty good. Like I said, that door, we'll fix that door, put some new hinge pins in it. That'll pick that back up. The passenger door looked about the same. After fixing that, you can see that really straightened that up. Anyway, this video is getting long. I think along with the cosmetics, we could probably replace these globes up here. They're looking a little bit sun faded. And I think, like I said, if I could find a flatbed, and if I can find a good bumper, like a ranch hand or something similar, I'll just have the cab painted. Because this bed, I can't find the tailgate for it. The tailgate got stolen off of it. Didn't get stolen, but I took it off, and it was sitting at an old shed of mine at an old barn we had, and Somehow it went missing. I think probably some tweakers stole it to scrap it. What a shame. Meth is a big thing in these rural areas. And if you're not watching out, if it's made of metal, people steal it. So, yeah, that's basically where we're at. A lot of work needs to get done, but I'm doing as much as I can day in, day out, and working full time. So this is going to be a slow process. Like I said, hopefully over the next 4 months we'll get it done. And probably just need to wash the thing because it's looking a little bit, the South. If you don't keep things clean in the South, it just gets like a mildew on it. I'm not sure what that is. Anyway, I digress. Catch you guys later.